Hey everybody, welcome back. HSC Podcast 92. Big Box Steve on the mic, Big Smooth. And we are in Christmas edition. Christmas coming up around the end of the weekend. Lots of good football, lots of good movies, lots of good food. So Christmas time. I love this time because you've got great college football coming. You're finishing up the NFL season, getting ready for playoffs. It's just a great time for sports, great time for family and food. So love this time of year.
Basketball season starts.
Yeah. Basketball, and I mean we'll talk about basketball a little bit, as we get close to the playoffs and stuff like that. March Madness, of course, is still good, but man, basketball's really gone downhill for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, football this year, getting ready for, you've had a few bowl games, nothing really to speak highly of. I don't know if you watched any of the scores. The UCLA played. That was, you know, one of the big schools that have played up to this point, but not a lot of other big games. They beat Boise State. But yeah, this week also you're coming up with your bowl games next weekend. You got all the bowl games, playoffs. College playoffs should be exciting. I know a lot of people have a lot of heartburn over how the playoffs went, but regardless, I think you still got four good teams in the playoff. Both games I think should be good in the first round, and I don't see any of those teams really outmatching the other. It's not like last year when you're like Georgia's just going to dominate the championship.
Right.
I mean, even last year was like the best game of was first round was Georgia Ohio State.
Right. Georgia had to hurt Marvin Harrison to win the game.
Right. Yeah, that was a good game. But I don't see a blowout in the championship this year. I mean, maybe it'll still happen, but I think it's a lot less likely than last year. I just didn't think TCU stood a chance.
They beat Michigan, right?
Yeah. I mean, that was kind of a fluky game too.
Any given whatever day you're playing.
Yeah. Yeah. So college football coming up. So we'll save college football for next week because that's when we'll get into those games. But if you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe and like. Appreciate the any comments. You're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Anchor. Thanks for listening. Let's get into NFL. This is what we're talking about, and stick around if you're listening to this far because we also are going to give our top five Christmas movies because it's Christmas edition. So let's talk week 15, right? Week 15 NFL. Prediction wise, Wes, who's obviously not here tonight, goes 13-3. Already has a 7 game lead on me.
Jeez.
And so in year 11-5, I was 10-6. So good records last week. But I don't know with 2 weeks left if we're catching Wes.
Well, especially if he's not on, he can, check this podcast out and then make his picks.
Listen to our picks actually, so technically there's 3 weeks, right? So this week's already started.
Yeah.
We had our Thursday night pick, but we'll get into that later. But talking about week 15 for a second, I mean, let's just start for a second with the Raiders game. What a blowout. I mean, 42 nothing at halftime.
Yeah, that was crazy. And then, the final score wasn't even indicative of the game because they had their backup. The Raiders had their backup defense in the fourth quarter when the Chargers scored two of their touchdowns. And they basically the whole fourth quarter they didn't even try on offense.
Yeah, even 63-21 is still
Yeah,
bad. I mean, it doesn't matter. You're still losing by 40. I guess that was just a surprise. Like I expected, I think we all picked the Raiders, so we kind of expect the Raiders to win that game,
not yeah.
but not that way.
No.
And
And the biggest surprise for me was I thought Brandon Staley was with the Chargers longer, but he just was bad from the very beginning. It
yeah,
was only like 3 years.
yeah, I think it was 3 years, but they were competitive, but they just couldn't win when it mattered.
Right. Well, he had the Raider game where the tie they would have got into the playoffs, and he made an ego mistake, and then the Raiders like screw it, we're going to go for the win. And then the next year they make the playoffs and they blow that lead.
Yeah, that Jaguars game was just the worst.
And their defense has not been good all 3 years, and he's a defensive mind. So it's
Yeah.
like,
But I think when you take over a team of that talent level, there's a high expectation there, and I don't think he ever fulfilled the expectation because you don't have to be the greatest coach to have success with that team.
the only problem I have is, do we overestimate the Chargers? Because it's been like 10 years of that, where everyone's like at the beginning of the year, they're one of the more talented teams in the NFL. And then they don't show up ever.
Well, I think they've had a hard time putting it together as a team. When I say talented, I'm talking about individually talented.
Right.
Not necessarily their coaching staff or them coming together as a team, which it seems to have been their problem for the longest time. But like if you break them down player by player, you find a lot of talent on that team. And that's the issue I've always had with them is they haven't had somebody that can bring them together, to win the big games and to take advantage of that talent they've had. But that was a crazy game. Cincinnati right back in it, which is crazy, right? So, I mean, at one point, like when Joe Burrow goes out, you kind
You're
of
like,
just
it's
wrote
done.
off Cincinnati at that point.
Yeah.
So they're right back in it. And then Pittsburgh, you didn't think it could get worse than good old Cody Pickett, but I
Well,
mean, you don't have to win a lot of games at that point, and they can't win.
no. They're going with Mason Rudolph now. That's how bad it is.
Right. So I mean, that's tough for Pittsburgh. Denver gets blown out. Chicago blows another game. I mean, it's crazy, I mean, yeah, you
Mooney
could
should
look
have
at
had
things
that.
and say, what ifs, but how many times, have you lost 90 plus, chance to win the game? 3 times this year. So you look at those 3 games and what? Now they're 8-6,
Yeah.
and everybody's like they're not a playoff team. I'm like that. Yeah, it sucks that you lose games like that. Nobody wants to lose when you have a 10-point lead or more, a 21-point lead in some cases, in one case. But I don't see how you can say they're not at least a contender when you lose 3 games when you could have easily won those. Not even easily, you had a 98% chance to win 2 of them.
And that's the sad part, is that I know it's not his fault, but who's going to be the scapegoat? It's going to be Fields.
Well, it's going to come down to you have to choose between the coaches and Fields.
Well, I think they get rid of them all. And then you bring in a new head coach who gets to pick his quarterback.
Unfortunately, I don't think they're getting rid of the coach, which is the worst mistake. And I actually think they keep Getsy too, which I think is another big mistake.
That's horrible. Yes.
Yeah. So even though I think Chicago could be on the rise, I think because of the decisions they'll make on the coaching staff, I think they'll have another mediocre to bad year next year. But it will be interesting to see what they do in the draft, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's obviously the talk of the draft because they're looking like they still probably will get the number one pick.
I
You
don't
know,
know.
Carolina.
Panthers winning a game last week.
Yeah, that was tough. I mean, Atlanta. I mean, look at that game, 9-7. You lose to Carolina. I mean, Atlanta, like you have a good chance to win the division.
Dude, it's well, I've said it every week, I think, for a long time now. It's you've drafted three guys in the top 10 on offense and you don't use
Yeah.
them. Seriously.
Well, you only scored 7 points against Carolina, worst defense in the league. Well, second worst. Like Washington's, the Commanders are the worst, right?
The Commanders traded all their best defensive
Right.
players.
But still, like, yeah, you're talking about. Well, the problem I have with Atlanta is you're going, yes, into Carolina, but what does it matter? Carolina had like 10 fans in the stadium. They were selling tickets for $1 in Carolina.
Well, the
But
Raiders aren't any good, but their tickets are like $1,300.
right, well, they're also in Las Vegas in like one of the nicest stadiums in the league.
Yeah.
It's brand new. Like Carolina's an old stadium, original from their expansion,
Yeah.
but still, that's
You
the
imagine, I mean, you think about that, you're like, sweet, I got to go to this game. And then it's like 9-7.
right. And there's like 1,000 people in a stadium that fits like 50,000. But I just don't see. So for me, that's a problem with Atlanta. Like if you can't go in and you can't win that game when you have to win, because you're talking about you're fighting for this division. You got New Orleans before this game was 7-7. Tampa is 7-7. And and they were 7-7, right? Or now they're 6-8. They
Yeah.
would have should have been 7-7. So you go in and you put up a 9-7 game. You don't deserve to go to the playoffs.
Now they're rolling with Taylor Heineke.
They should have been rolling with him from the beginning. Tampa goes in and beats Green Bay. After watching tonight's game, I mean, I already kind of thought Tampa was the odds-on favorite, but it really looks like Tampa will win that division. Houston, Tennessee, ugly game for Tennessee. You got Case Keenum playing. You can't go in and beat Case Keenum or at home.
Case Keenum, man. He took the Vikings to the NFC Championship game.
That's right. Well, and their top two receivers are hurt too, right?
And they can't block for Derrick Henry, and they're blaming him for getting hit in the backfield on every play.
That was a tough loss for Tennessee. I think Tennessee really hurt themselves.
And they're done.
Yeah,
Stick a fork in them. But yeah, with the Texans losing Dell, and then they
and
just
Nico,
lost, Nico Collins,
right?
and Noah Brown was on Steve's bench.
I know. I should have played him. Instead, I had Hopkins in, didn't do anything. The Buffalo Dallas game, I don't know if you watched much of that. Buffalo just dominated them. Dallas did not look good that game.
Hey, I said it last week. This is when we start realizing the Cowboys aren't that good.
Right.
And everyone was
Buffalo,
talking Cowboys last week. Cowboys, Cowboys, Dak Prescott MVP, Dallas
right.
Cowboys team. And now crickets. 1 week later, crickets.
Well, I think when it shows when their defense can't stop the run and commit turnover or force turnovers and score, like Dallas is in trouble.
Josh Allen didn't even have like 100 yards passing.
Yeah, I mean, Cook ran for 180 yards or
Yeah,
something.
exactly. Gabe Davis had 0 yards for me
Right.
on my fantasy team.
But that the Dallas Philly, how that plays out now becomes really interesting for the East title.
Right. Because, yeah, there we go. Talk about Philly just shatting the bed against the Seahawks.
Oh yeah, I didn't expect them to lose that game. Granted, Jalen Hurts wasn't 100%.
Both of his interceptions were stupid, though.
Yeah,
And did you see the thing that on the. Okay, first off, also, you lost to Drew Lock.
right.
Come on, man. Did you see, though, on the Seattle's last drive, all 92 yards passing was against James Bradbury?
Right. Well, because I mean, they really didn't play anything but man and or no help basically.
Yeah.
I mean, they were still in maybe cover three sometimes, but they were not giving any help over the top, which that's what you do. You don't have to go to prevent, but you don't want to isolate your DBs in those situations. It's like the last touchdown, right? You're going to give somebody one on one. That's what you're going to face, right?
Yep.
It's like I don't know if you saw the end of Chicago Cleveland game, 3rd and 15, and you're blitzing everybody and dropping a defensive lineman to try to cover the tight end. Like who is calling that play?
All right. Eberflus.
I mean, I'm not even there. I mean, I saw that within seconds of it developing, and I was already like, what are you doing? As soon as
Well,
that defensive
especially
lineman dropped back.
it's not it's Joe Flacco, right? It's not a rookie quarterback.
Right.
It's someone who's won a Super Bowl and
Right.
like has seen coverages. I get it. If it was like Tommy DeVito or something or Aiden O'Connell, sure.
Blitz him.
But Joe Flacco's going to pick that apart.
You gotta make him throw the ball past the first down line and make a good throw. That's what you have to make him do.
Right.
You can't blitz him and hope your defensive lineman can somehow run with Njoku. But yeah, it's the same thing with the Philly game, though. You put your corner out on an island like that, you're going to get in trouble.
Yeah.
So that's it's easy to sit back here and criticize, of course, but it's also sometimes you just look at that and you're just like, what were you thinking?
And Matt Patricia called the plays this week. So,
Right. Yeah, and Philly's defense did not look great at
no.
all.
Well, and they had a bunch of injuries. I mean, Darius Slay didn't play, which obviously they need him out there as a corner.
Right.
The only good you could take out is Keely Ringo played. He hadn't had any snaps really this year, and
Yeah.
he looks pretty good.
Yeah, and I think with some time, he'll definitely be good. I think that's a good draft pick as well. But it's overall, most of the games, we all had a high winning percentage comparatively. So most of the games went the ways. And even, I know I kind of went out crazy on New England there, but when you look at the New England Kansas City game, Kansas City did not look good
No,
at all. Like, and New England obviously looked worse, but there's a couple plays in that game. holding call, a bad throw by Zappi that really changed that game from what could have been a very close game. And it's still only a 10-point game.
Right.
But I'm worried about Kansas City, to be honest with you. I don't think they look that great.
Right.
So it's an interesting week coming down the playoffs. Next week's podcast, I want to get into like playoff scenarios because we still got a couple weeks to go. So we'll wait till there's, those last 2 weeks to really get into playoff scenarios. But overall, I don't know if you looked a lot at the playoff scenarios, but it's kind of wacky.
Well, it's so funny because the AFC is crazy because like how many 6 loss teams and 7 loss teams, but we're in the NFC, it's like 7 and 8 loss team.
Right. I mean, they're still in a position though. Both sides are in a position where a lot of different things can happen in just a couple weeks, which it's not always that way. There's always some scenarios, but there's going to be so many when they do those, playoff scenario breakdowns on like ESPN and these sports
Mhm.
channels. They're going to have so many teams with all the different lines to this happens and this happens and this happens.
Oh yeah. So right now, if we count the Raiders, because they're 2 games, they're 6 and 8, right? So
Right.
right now the Texans are the 7 seed at 8 and 6, but that's 12 teams in the AFC.
That could make the playoffs.
Right. Well,
Right.
actually, so it's 11 teams for 6 spots because the Ravens have already clinched.
Right.
And then the NFC, 3 teams clinched, plus the Lions are pretty much already guaranteed. So you have yeah, up until the Bears at 5 and 9, the 13 team right now still have a chance because there's still only 2 games out.
Right.
You could end up with 2 teams under 500 make the playoffs.
In the NFC, that would be nuts. Because you could definitely have the South
Yeah.
winner be under 500,
Yeah.
especially with New
Right now, yeah.
Orleans.
The 7th seed is the Vikings at 7 and 7. So you have the Vikings and Seahawks at 7 and 7, and then it goes, well, the Saints losing today, 7 and 8. And the Falcons and Packers 6 and 8, Giants and Bears 5 and 9.
Yeah, this week's going to tell you a lot, though. I think
Hmm. It's
there's,
gonna weed out people.
yeah, there's going to be a lot. So, like I said, the next when you get into 7 weeks, 17, 18, that'll be a lot of scenario games there. So, yeah, let's jump into week 16 here. So we picked before this, obviously we all had the Rams. So the Rams beat the Saints tonight. And just talk about that game for a second since it's already been played. There's a lot of hype around the Rams right now. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
obviously they won like 5 of their last 6 games, right? But I'm looking at that, outside of the Cleveland win, which even Cleveland's really banged up. Like you beat Arizona and Washington and the Saints and Seattle, and then you lost the Ravens, a fairly close game, and then you beat the Browns. Like, I don't know that I call them one of the hottest teams in the league.
Well, I mean, for the NFC, it's almost like they were one of the cream of the crop for the lower echelon NFC teams. Because I think we can agree right now it's the Niners, Eagles, Cowboys, Lions.
Right,
They're up here, and then everyone else in the AFC is down below.
right. So yeah, I mean, maybe they're hotter than the other 7-7 teams, But everybody's like, you got to really watch out for the playoffs. I'm like, I don't think Philly or Dallas or 49ers got to watch out for them in the playoffs or
Their
Detroit.
offense is really good, and they got Aaron Donald, so that's like what you
Right.
got.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. They're on a hot streak. I guess I just don't. In my opinion, I don't call them one of the hottest teams in the league. I think, yeah, you won a lot of games, but you're not playing top talent either, right? You're not playing the best teams. But they go to New York and then they go to San Francisco, so they're probably making the playoffs. So probably we win the New York game and probably lose San Francisco and go in at 9-8, right?
Yeah, right now,
Because they're the sixth seed right now as it stands.
right?
I just
You
thought it
kind
was
of get
unnecessary hype around the Rams. I'm like, I get it. They won the game. You got to have something to talk about, but I'm not calling them the hottest team in the NFC. But that was Thursday night football. So we're all 1-0. Starting off well.
already got my check mark down.
So let's get into our this week 16 HSC podcast picks. First game Saturday. So Saturday games, I love that. I love Saturday games. First game Cincinnati at Pittsburgh. What do you got?
Well, I don't know how anyone could take the Steelers with the way their quarterback play has been. And remember, can we all remember how bad Mason Rudolph was last
Right.
time he played? Uh, so I know it's in Pittsburgh, but yeah, I'm taking the Bengals here by keep it close because the defense is still really good for the Steelers. Although I don't know if Jamar Chase is playing. That's a big if.
Yeah, I don't think he is. I mean, he might not. We'll see.
So that will make it interesting, but I'm still going to take the Bengals.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a close game because it's in Pittsburgh and their defense will keep them in the game. It's so questionable on their offense, though. That's the problem for Pittsburgh. So I'm going to go with the Bengals on the road here too by a field goal. Although, I mean, Pittsburgh could win that game.
Yes. Because, what have we learned this whole year? We hype up a team. They're like, oh, we're going to do good now. Jake Browning, he looks like he's there. And then they lose.
Right. Yeah, Pittsburgh's just in turmoil though, so I think
Yeah.
that's their problem. You got to have a little bit of leadership out on the field, and they don't have that on offense at all.
Pickens not blocking for
Right.
Warren, and then Warren calling him out saying, I would have blocked for you.
Well, that's the problem is I don't think they have any leadership on their position players also. Like they don't have the old receiver, like there's no Hines Ward type, you
Right.
know, because they got Pickens and
Deontay Johnson.
Deontay Johnson, yeah, and it's those aren't like stand up type guys, and Najee Harris and Warren, they're not vocal,
Right.
so they need a quarterback to lead them, and they don't have that. Like anywhere, obviously they're going to Mason Rudolph.
Gonna have to be Fryermuth.
So yeah, I'm too worried about Pittsburgh. No leadership on offense. I don't know if they could score to win that game. Buffalo at the Chargers. I mean, maybe it's a case where the Chargers are happy now, but Buffalo is a hot. They are. If I was going to call a team hot, I would say Buffalo's hot going right now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there are a team that they need some help to make the playoffs right now, but they're not a team you want to play in the playoffs. As they have definitely been on a roll. Cook's been really, really running the ball well.
Yeah.
I mean, I take Buffalo here by 2 touchdowns at least.
Yeah, I'm in agreement here. The spread is 12 and a half. But the way Buffalo just dismantled the Cowboys, it's like they're already in the play. They're already in playoff mode.
Right.
And
Well,
the
they have to.
Chargers are done. Keenan Allen's not going to play again. Um, yeah, they're shutting it down.
Right. But Buffalo has to be in playoff mode because I mean they still need help to make the playoffs, which is crazy.
Me, but it's pretty realistic because I gotta check here. Do the Texans and the Colts still play each other?
I don't know. Yeah, they
Yes,
probably
the
do. They have
Texans and the
to.
Colts play each other. So if the Buffalo wins out, they're in.
Oh yeah, because that'll be a loss for one of those two teams.
Yeah. So if Buffalo wins out, they're in. Plus, you're looking at they played the Dolphins the last week of the season, and the Dolphins have the Cowboys this week.
Yeah.
So it could be looking at winning the division. The
Yeah, if
last
the
couple weeks.
Dolphins lose a game and then they beat the Dolphins in the season finale, they still win the division.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Buffalo pretty easily there. Uh Indianapolis at Atlanta.
Falcons are favored by one. I guess it's because it's a home game. I'm taking the Colts here. Falcons are a mess. I don't think Heineke or anything. Arthur Smith's a garbage head coach. So I'm taking Minshew Magic.
Minshew. Uncle Rico. Yeah, I mean, I gotta agree with that because I think the Colts have good things happening, and Atlanta just doesn't.
And Taylor will be back and Pittman will be
Right.
available.
Yeah, and I think this is an important game for them. I think Indianapolis, they could be a playoff. They're a playoff team right now. 8-6. They play the Falcons, and then they play the Raiders, and they play the Texans. So it's
They
not a
could win all three
particularly
games
tough.
or lose all three games.
I mean, yeah, I mean, of course they need well because all these teams are all the same, but it's not a particularly tough schedule.
No.
So yeah, I think the Colts there definitely have a lot to play for. Seattle at Tennessee, man. I'm gonna go with Seattle. I think Tennessee is a little discombobulated as a team. They don't know what their identity is. Their line is not helping Derrick Henry out at all. And it's like you're so hit and miss with Will Levis. Like throw the ball to Hopkins. Like how
Right?
hard is that?
Should be pretty easy.
I mean, but Seattle has a pretty decent secondary. So as long as they can, stop the run, I can see them pretty easily winning this game, actually. Coming off the Philadelphia win, they're gonna have a little momentum going. Still feel like they can make the playoffs, which they're still in it, of course, and I think this is an important game for them. I think Seattle wants it more than the Tennessee, so I'm gonna go with Seattle here.
I think the Titans have packed it in. Geno Smith will be back. Yeah, I'm taking Seattle. Well, I'm gonna make it close because Seattle's playing on the road and they just don't. I don't know if they play that well on the road, so it will be close, but they're gonna still win.
Yeah, I actually have Seattle by 10.
Jeez.
I don't know. Tennessee just doesn't look good, but you
Right.
never know. I mean, if you run the ball, you control the game, you're in Tennessee. Yeah, I could see that. Detroit at Minnesota.
Detroit's favored by 3.5. I'm going Detroit. I think Minnesota's magic is gone now. Detroit had their lull. Now they were hitting their stride again. So yeah, I got Detroit by 7.
Yeah, I think Minnesota's really done. They don't look good. They haven't looked good. Detroit looking to finish the season strong. Like this is a statement game for them. Like they come out and they beat up on Minnesota. I think they win by 14. So I definitely think Detroit has to make it, and it's in the dome, right?
Yeah.
So that's good for Detroit. Game of the week: Washington at the Jets.
Oh, this one's so hard to pick.
Does anybody even want to watch this game?
Gosh. No. I'm taking the Jets here just because their defense is still so good and the Commanders have one of the worst defenses in the NFL or the worst. So Bryce Hall will have a big game. Yeah.
Well, it's the worst defense against the worst offense.
Yeah.
Saw
But I
that.
don't see the Commanders doing anything on offense either.
Right, right. Well, and against you're going against a fairly good defense. One of the better in the
Right.
AFC for sure. So
And I don't know if Brian Robinson's playing, so that will hurt him.
yeah, I saw a meme that said it's a movable object against a stoppable force.
Right.
Look, that's pretty funny. I gotta take the Jets as well here. I think it's an ugly game. It's an ugly game. Jets squeak it out a win here. I think both teams want to lose actually because it's about it's about draft picks now, right?
Yeah.
So it's whoever wants to lose less.
Yeah. Because now Aaron Rodgers knows he's not coming back because he
No,
doesn't need
why
to.
would he come back? It's
Yeah.
dumb.
Although they opened a roster spot for him so he could practice.
Right. Which is fine, what's it matter?
Right.
So yeah, I'm in agreement. Jets probably there as well. Let's see. Green Bay at Carolina. I'm still not a believer in Carolina, even though it's at home. They're gonna have another 1,000 people watching. Green Bay doesn't look great either, but Carolina just they don't have it this year. So even Green Bay at mediocre can win this game.
Can you imagine Green Bay screwing you, Steve,
I know. Why wouldn't they?
and letting and having the Panthers beat them?
Why wouldn't they?
But no, I got the Packers winning because they still don't. They think they still have
They
hopes
have
left.
a chance. It's outside, but they're 6-8. So they're not eliminated yet, so they have to play, right?
Right.
You have to come to play.
Hmm.
Let's see, Cleveland at Houston. What do you got here?
I got the Browns, Joe Flacco. They're favored by 3 on the road, but Stroud's not playing again. So probably Keenum. I'm taking the Browns with their defense and Super Joe going back to the playoffs.
Yeah. We got a swing game here
Whoa.
because I'm gonna go with your boy Case Keenum. Just look, the Browns, yeah, their defense is solid, but they did not look good against the Bears. And I get it, the Bears are playing decent football, but I mean, Flacco threw three interceptions. They win the game because basically Chicago threw it away. And Houston at home, this is a big game for Houston. If you're, I mean, you think about what D'Amico Ryans is talking about in practice in the locker rooms right now. Because you got to imagine you're sitting there at 8-6, you're a rookie coach. Because this is it right now, right? You lose this game, you're out or close to it.
Right.
And I can't imagine he's not putting fire underneath his team. And Cleveland just doesn't look to me, like they have a lot of fire. It's in Houston. So yeah, I'm gonna go with the swing game here. I'm gonna go with Houston. Because honestly, I don't think Case Keenum's a huge downgrade. It sucks they don't have Collins and Dell. I think that hurts them more
Right.
than not having Stroud. So we'll see what happens here, but I'm gonna go Houston. Let's see, Jacksonville at Tampa Bay. We probably have a swing game here too because I'm going with Tampa. It's at home, and I think Tampa wins the division, and I think they see a chance right now to take it with New Orleans losing tonight. Tampa's going to come in with some fire. And I don't know, Jacksonville hasn't impressed me a lot lately.
Right. Well, the
So,
Jaguars have lost three straight, and that's
right,
why this is a must-win game for them. Because now they're at a three-way tie with the Texans and Colts for the
right.
division.
It is a must. Yeah, it is too.
So I'm taking the Jags here. I mean, Tampa, Jacksonville, you're both in Florida. It's not like that big a deal.
Yeah, it's not a home game.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm taking the Jags here because this is the game where Trevor Lawrence has to come through.
Right. I think you find out a lot about Trevor Lawrence this game. Because if he doesn't come through, like if they lose this game, then they don't end up making the playoffs. I think that hurts him overall, right? As his future development,
Well, I don't know if I saved. Did I save the
confidence
picture?
wise.
Yeah. Did I send you guys the picture of first 48 career starts, Trevor Lawrence, Daniel Jones?
Oh yeah, I've seen that.
Uh Trevor Lawrence is 20 and 28, Daniel Jones 19 and 29. Their passing touchdowns, interceptions are 55-35 to 55-33. They're pretty much identical.
Right,
So basically, Daniel Jones and Trevor Lawrence are the same player.
right. And they're both in that like you don't know if they're going to make it.
Right.
Yeah, where I think yeah, this was a tough pick. I mean, obviously Jacksonville could easily win this game too. So I don't think that Jacksonville's a terrible pick here either. I guess, I think, I guess you made a good point. They're both in Florida, but Tampa's still at home technically. Um, but I think that there's a door opening for Tampa, and I think Jacksonville might have a door closing on their season. So we'll see. Arizona at Chicago. Who cares?
Well, you care, Steve. You need to lose.
I know, but I don't. I just don't see Chicago losing this game. They actually are playing decent football, even though it'd be better for them to lose. I just don't see them losing to Arizona. Their defense is playing better, and I think Arizona has a hard time with Justin Fields in this game. I don't think he throws for a lot of yards, but I think he runs for a lot of yards in this game. And so at home, against a not so good Arizona team. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Chicago here.
We got a swing game
Oh, back on the Arizona train.
back on Arizona. The Cardinals, they lost, but they played the 49ers tough. And that's what I think that you have with the Cardinals is they're going to stay in games. Obviously, they're staying with the 49ers, but that's because the 49ers are the best team in the NFL right now,
Right.
arguably. But they put up 29 points on the Niners. Kyler Murray's back, James Conner's back, and say what you will about Jonathan Gannon, he at least has them trying and playing hard. And then this helps the Bears out when the Cards win. So I'm going to do my typical. The Bears will be winning. They'll be playing really well.
I mean,
And
it's
then
not a
all
surprise.
of a sudden, they'll do something, and all of a sudden, the Cardinals will end up winning.
Yeah, you mean like shotgun on the 1 yard line or screens and I mean it's almost laughable when you watch the games because you're just you and you know what, I get it. It's hard to be an NFL coach, and I'm not going to sit here and posture and be like I'm better than NFL coaches, but you sometimes you sit there and you're just like, what are you actually thinking? Are you overthinking? Are you like, I'm going to get tricky? Like, they're not going to expect this.
Like how many times have we watched a game and be like, please don't do this play.
Right. And then they
Please
do.
don't do that. And then they do that play, and you're like, dude.
Yeah. Well, that's what I felt with the Bears game. Especially this last game. As I was watching this, like I knew as soon as they got up 10, I was like, it's over. They're gonna lose.
You're like, stay close. Don't.
Yeah. Yeah, but I don't know. Yeah, and Arizona doesn't look terrible, but they still, they've won like 2 of their last 10 or whatever, and so they're not obviously Kyler coming back helped them, may help them. I don't know that it did necessarily help them a lot, but I mean, I guess technically they've won 2 of their 3 games with him to start coming back.
Yeah, I
Is that,
mean,
is that where they're at now?
no, they're 1-1, 1-2, 2-3.
Right. So they have won 2 of their 3 games since Kyler come back.
Well, 2 of their 5 games. I mean,
Oh, 2 of their 3 total wins.
yeah, because they beat the Falcons,
Right.
lost to the Texans by 5, lost to the Rams big,
Well, and
beat
lost to
the
Cleveland.
Steelers by 14,
Right.
and then lost to the Niners.
The Niners. So I mean, I guess they're not horrible, but they have been impressive.
This they'll probably lose their last 2, so you want those Panthers to have a little edge.
Yeah.
You need this to give
But why
this.
would Arizona even want to win this game?
Well, they got the new head coach. He probably doesn't want to keep losing.
Right. Trying to get his job, keep his job. But I mean,
Be
if
like,
you
see,
they go in with 3 losses, they have a chance, to be a number 1 pick.
right. But if you go in and say, see, if I would have had Kyler Murray all year, we would have been,
Right. Right. Yeah, but I think Eberflus probably also thinks that his job's in jeopardy.
it hasn't stopped him this
Yeah,
whole season, though.
hasn't stopped him from being horrible. And it's funny because they're 5-9, and like we talked about earlier, 3 games that they blew huge leads, 98% chance of winning those games. I mean, you really, like I said, you could easily be an 8-16.
Right. Coaching matters in the NFL.
Yeah. So, all right, well, So we got 3 straight swing games.
Yeah,
See, this is the problem that I have Wes here because we don't know what his picks are.
I know.
Because I don't need to catch up on you. I need to catch up on Wes. First or last, man. Man, first or last.
Right.
Let's see, Dallas, Miami. So this is a big game for both teams.
This one I'm waffling on because of all of the Dolphins' injuries.
Right. You got a banged up Mosier, you got a banged up Hill.
Banged up Waddle, banged up. Here's the one. Banged up all 5 starting offensive linemen didn't practice today.
Right. But
That's
you gotta remember though, McDaniel's famous for that. Like he lets guys not practice.
well, and you know what? We've already discussed my feelings on the Cowboys, so I am still taking the Dolphins here. It is late season
Time for the
downward
Cowboys
spiral for the
decline.
Cowboys. I'm taking the Dolphins by 5.
Yeah, man. I mean, I have the Dolphins here too, so I gotta stick with that. I was back and forth quite a bit because I agree, Miami on paper looks very dinged up. But Miami can't afford to lose this game because the last thing you want to do as Miami is go and play Buffalo in the last game of the season for the division.
Right.
So I don't think Miami can afford to lose this game. Dallas, obviously, they're already in the playoffs.
Well, consider this too. Dolphins might miss the playoffs.
Yeah,
Think about this. They play the Cowboys, the Ravens, and the
and
Bills.
the Bills, yeah, easily could lose all 3 games. Yeah, not like, oh, that's not like playing like, Houston and Tennessee and Atlanta. Like you're playing 3 of the best teams in the league.
Yeah.
That's tough. But I don't think they can afford to lose this game. I think at home, I definitely think Tyreek plays and has a big game.
Yeah. And plus, it's on their minds. Everyone's saying, oh, you haven't been in a team with a winning record yet.
Right, right.
Well,
And that's,
you got 3
well,
chances in a row here.
man, that's also, I was looking at that actually when I was looking at this game. I was like, if you look at Miami, they have not beat any of the good teams they've played. All of their wins are against pretty bad teams.
Yeah, they haven't played very many good teams. Let's just go
No.
there.
And every good team they played, they lost.
Literally, they played 3 good teams.
Lost every game.
Yeah, they played the Bills and got destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
Lost to the Eagles 31-17, and they lost to the Chiefs 21-14.
Right.
That's it. That's the only 3 teams that they play that are good.
Right. And lost to the Titans.
Yeah. That was super fluky, though.
Yeah, so this game worries me, but I don't know. We'll find out a lot about Miami. I'm going to stick with Miami here because I think this is a must win for them. And there's no way Tyreek doesn't play and doesn't have a big game. So dangerous, but man, I'm going with Miami. New England at Denver, Sunday night football. Really? God.
Well, that's fine. I'll be celebrating Christmas Eve at my
That's right.
mom's,
It won't
so I don't
matter, I
really
guess.
care.
But man, really? That's what you're playing on Sunday night
Well,
football?
that's why, because Christmas Eve people are all out going to like church, doing, midnight
Right.
mass, going to dinners. No one wants to watch
No, I mean nobody wants to watch this game anyway, so I guess it doesn't matter. I mean, I'm going Denver at
Yeah. How
home.
many Denver games have been on primetime this year? It's kind of ridiculous.
So many, a lot.
But yeah, I'm going Denver too. Hopefully, the only redeeming thing would be as if it snowed.
Right. Yeah, that'd be fun to watch.
Yeah, that's the only thing I'm hoping for. But yeah,
Yeah, but yeah, you're right. 5:15. I'm not gonna watch any of this game.
right.
Yeah, I mean, who cares? Denver. What's New England's record? 3-11 as well,
Yeah, you need New England to win.
right? I don't know. I don't think Carolina will win another game. Hopefully. But I'm still going Denver here. I think Denver, they probably still think they have a chance. Yeah, they're 7-7, so not
Yeah.
mathematically eliminated yet. Denver has to win this game. Monday night or Monday day, Christmas Day. Sorry, we got three football games, which is kind of awesome. All day football, three different channels, starting at 10 a.m. for us anyway. Vegas at the Raiders at the Chiefs. Ooh, at Kansas City.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Chiefs are favored by 10. So yeah, I mean, but you know what? What Hans Gruber said to Theo. It's Christmas. You got to believe in the miracles. And this is our miracle for Christmas. It's the Raiders will upset the Chiefs on Christmas Day because they want Antonio Pierce to have this job.
Right.
And they are going to play their butts off for him. Uh, One of the big things in the Charger game, I know the Chargers quit, but Bo Hardigree, the offensive coordinator for the Raiders, went up to the booth. He was on the sidelines for the first time. And it made a huge difference. Since Antonio Pierce has taken over, the Raiders have the third ranked defense in the NFL.
Right.
So, and the Chiefs haven't looked that good this year.
I'm actually going with the Raiders too. I'm not sold on the Chiefs right now. I think they're not looking great. I think they didn't look good against a very, very subpar Patriots team. Patriots helped them win the game. So maybe the Raiders aren't as good as they looked last week, but regardless, I'm in agreement. I think that Antonio Pierce has done a great job, and I think he should stay as the coach. So if they want him to be the coach, they win this game. So I'm going with the Raiders as well. So we're both taking a 10-point underdog. So if you like betting the point spread, take the Raiders in the points. If
Yeah.
you want great odds, take the Raiders in the money
Mm-hmm. I was fiddling with that earlier today.
line. They get some good odds right there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we're both on the Raiders there. So it's just gonna you want to see what West picks on that game.
Yeah.
Giants at Philly. I don't think there's a question here. I think Philly has to win, does win, probably
Tommy
by
Cutlets is over. It's already over.
yeah.
He's the Jeremy Lin of the Giants.
Yeah. I mean, even if he plays well, which I don't think he'll probably play okay. I don't think I can't see Philly losing this game.
Right. Yeah, I'm in agreement. I think they beat
Yeah,
up on bad teams. So yeah, they'll win this game. 11.5 is high for me though, but they'll still win. But
I got
probably
them by 14, so
oh,
I think they cover. I don't know. I'm just yeah. I guess the Giants they're good against bad teams, but I think Philly has too much talent. Oh, now here is the real game of the week. So, yeah,
We're all
you
going to be
talk about
exhausted by this time.
no doubt. You're talking about 5 o'clock Christmas Day, Baltimore at San Francisco. I mean, this might be the game of the year. I don't know that there's been a better game this year. You
Well,
know,
the two teams with the best two records in the NFL, right? They're number one in both.
right? But I think they're legitimately the two best teams, and they're both in their conferences, like without question. I don't. When you look, you say who's best NFC, who's the best AFC. I think most people are going to say 49ers, Baltimore.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think this might be because even when like Philly was playing Miami, and you still didn't, you weren't like, okay, these are the best teams. I think right now this is the game where you say, here's the two best teams playing each other.
I agree.
So big question is who you got.
Picking the Niners. They're the home team. And something about the Ravens, because I've been on the Ravens bandwagon for years. I've been saying that they should have been the number one seed like every year for the past 3 years. But sometimes it's like they just don't show up.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like it's this game because it's in San Francisco. They are, kind of still banged up. So for this, I got to take the 49ers here.
Yeah. I think if it was in Baltimore, I think it'd be a easier or a harder pick. So for me, I think in San Francisco, the way they're playing lately, it's hard not to pick the Niners here. I think the Niners at this point are making a statement to we're the best in the NFC, and this is a statement game. But if they lose this game, brings them kind of back down to earth.
Yeah.
But they're healthy is the problem, and I think a healthy Niners team is a very dangerous team.
Right.
So I'm going 49ers as well.
And then a lot of people's fantasy teams for the playoffs are hinged on that game, last game of the week.
I know.
CMC playing, Christian McCaffrey
Oh
playing.
man, I'm gonna need like a 50-point lead going into that game. Well, at least I have Devo playing. He's been decent for me lately. He's been pretty good actually. So we'll see what happens there. Um, so a few swing games there. We'll see what Wes comes up with. See if we can put some games up on him. But good week in football. Like I can't. I mean, I think this is a fun week to watch. I like this week because it really is going to determine like what the what the playoff scenarios look like. You know what I mean? Like I think this week after this week, you're just going to say, okay, now there's 10 scenarios of who's going to make the playoffs, and here's how it happens, and that's kind of a fun part of the NFL, getting into that playoff run. So Christmas special before we wrap up here. Let's talk about top 5 Christmas movies. So our top five. Um, Before we get into that, or maybe you saw this already. So the number one played movie right now is Elf.
Mm-hmm. I
So
could see that.
Elf has the most plays of any Christmas movie. And I'm already tell you right now, it's not in my top five. Maybe it's in yours.
No,
But I don't know. I'm not a fan.
I like Elf, but Caitlin and Grayson don't. And it's funny because last year Grayson loved Elf. But now that he's 7, he started social cues are starting. And I think the whole awkwardness and everything he doesn't like it. We were trying to watch it the other day, and he's like, "Fast forward this part. I don't want to watch this part,"
Right.
because he just couldn't handle the awkwardness.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a little over the top
Yeah,
with that sometimes, right? And I get that's what they're trying to do, but it's like, look, you succeeded. Like you did it. So but that was interesting. I saw that, so that was the top played Christmas movie this year. Um, and it was interesting because Brooklyn's never seen it. She's never wanted to see it, but she was talking about her classmates are all talking about it, and they're all in, fifth grade. And so it was interesting that's the age group apparently
yeah, I could see that.
that likes the elf. But yeah, let's get into our top five. Definitely a hard category, right?
Right. I got a lot on mine, that lot that I couldn't put in my top five that are staples every year that I watch.
Right. And yeah, I watch a lot of Christmas movies at Christmas time, and it was definitely hard to choose, how to eliminate some of those because you're right. You watch it, but does that make it one of your top fives?
Right. Yeah, I got a list of like 60 something Christmas movies.
Yeah.
Try to get through, but
But I
yeah,
had 15 that I was like, these could all be
right.
in top five, but breaking them down was tough. So let's start off number five. I'll give you my number five. Number five for me, this might be for anybody still listening, may not like this, but I have a Christmas story at five. Um, because it's a watchable movie. Like you can watch it over and over and over and over again. Are
24 hours
there
straight.
cooler movies these days? Do they have other things that probably make it a little better in Christmas? Well, yeah, but the story's great. It's a watchable movie. You could play it over and over again, and it is a good story, and it's a little old school, which helps too. So I snuck Christmas Story in there, definitely into my top five. Some people probably have it higher for nostalgia reasons, for staple reasons, but I
Right.
put it in there five.
So I'll tell you Grayson's top five. So we got a 7-year-old's top five here.
All right, we'll throw that in there.
His number five is Muppets Christmas Carol.
Interesting enough that Holly wanted that in the top five as well. it's
Yes,
a
he
good. It's
loves.
good. I like it.
He would also go with the Mickey's Christmas Carol
Mickey's
with
Christmas
Scrooge McDuck.
Carol, right? And
He would
we
go
were
either.
we were in an argument about Mickey's Christmas Carol being better than Christmas Carol. And I was like, really? You're gonna say Mickey's Christmas Carol is better than the Christmas Carol?
You mean like, are we talking George C. Scott? Is
Yeah,
that
George C.
yeah.
Scott. Yeah,
Although, I will say for Mickey's Christmas Carol, that was when we were kids.
right.
That's when
Well, it's
that
good.
came out.
It's very good.
And
I
it's
would
short. It's
probably
only like a 40 minutes.
I'd take Mickey's Christmas Carol over Muppets personally.
Yeah. Muppets is good because Michael Caine,
Right.
when he went into it, he's like, I'm playing this like this is a real Christmas Carol movie. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
He played Scrooge like as Scrooge.
Right. Yeah, and it was good. It was good.
Now we'll get to my number five, which is my Christmas Carol movie, Scrooged.
Scrooge. Yeah. So that was for me. It was right there.
Yeah, Bill Murray, classic movie about being what was he, a TV executive, is
Right.
basically the Scrooge modern version. Puts they have a love story in this one. I mean, but
Well, and it's not super. he didn't they didn't follow the norm of people copying A Christmas Carol.
Right.
Because like even the Muppets Christmas Carol, even Mickey's A Christmas Carol, they're very Christmas Carol, right?
Right.
They're really following the story. Where Scrooge, the idea is the same, but they didn't really say we're going to do it the same way.
Well, yeah, because he gets a guy fired who goes off and his
Right.
wife leaves him and he goes and gets drunk and then goes and buys a shotgun. It's kind of crazy. But
Yeah.
and then it follows the whole he goes and he meets the ghosts and he learns about, whoa, I've been a jerk.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, there's still a part of it, but I think the overall, yeah, for me, I love Scrooge. Scrooge is one of my favorite movies. That's definitely got to watch every year. So that was up there for me as well. Number four, what do you got? What's Grayson got?
Polar Express.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I love Polar Express also, but for him, he loves it. The whole, um, still believing in everything. His age, it's still pretty tough. He's got classmates that have older siblings who are like, no, you don't. No, he's not anyone.
Right, right.
Well, Polar Express says it is.
Yeah.
Gotta believe.
I think Holly's and Grayson's top five is the same.
Tell her that she has a 70.
Polar Express is good, and the the fully animated movie. There's something that's nice about that because you can do a lot, with the graphics and that kind of stuff. So it makes a good watch.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, before like a few years ago, I'd never seen it. And then I'm like, oh, sat
Yeah.
down with Grayson and they were like, oh, this is actually pretty good.
No, I've seen it a lot. I saw it when it came out. And Brooklyn used to love it when she was younger. So it's good. I like it. What do you got it for?
Going with the classic White Christmas.
Oh, White Christmas.
I love me White Christmas. Well, me and Kaylin watch White Christmas every year.
Yeah.
Good old Bing Crosby, Danny Kaye, Rosemary Clooney. It's up there. I just love the songs in it and brings me back. I know it's in a Bing was kind of honorary, but it's like almost a Rat Pack type movie. So I
Right.
love White Christmas.
Yeah, I do. I like White Christmas as well. Didn't make my top five. It was definitely on the list. This is also might be surprising where my four lands, and my four is landing at Die Hard. Although Holly tells me that Die Hard's not a Christmas movie
Be wrong.
because Bruce Willis said it wasn't a Christmas movie. And I'm like, you know what? Bruce Willis didn't write the movie. So
Right.
it is a Christmas movie. There's obviously it's an action movie and there's a lot of other stuff happening. And it could easily be my number one movie because it overall it's one of the best movies. So even when you're not talking Christmas movies, you just said, what's a great movie? You'd say Die Hard. But because we're focused specifically on Christmas, I moved it down the list a little bit, even though it could be number one. But I got Die Hard at four. All right, number three. So let's start with Grayson's number three.
Grayson's number three, and it's kind of an all-encompassing one, but I'll start it would be the newer version, the Illumination version of the Grinch.
Hmm.
But he likes all the versions of the Grinch.
I like the Grinch. I like the original for us, our original, I guess. And
Yeah,
maybe not the original, but when we were kids, that
with
was my
Boris
favorite.
Karloff and
Right.
speaking. He even likes It's bad. There was a Broadway Grinch that they played on TV.
Right.
Not very good, but he loves that one too. He loves all the Grinches.
Yeah. No, I mean Grinch is classic. It's classic. I mean, the original Grinch from when we were kids, I could easily put up there. Again, it's not in my top five, but I could easily have that one because that was, I mean, how many times did we watch that?
Oh yeah, still watch it.
Right. But even when we were kids, though, because there wasn't a lot on like today, you didn't have the streaming services and
You know one I miss that you can't find anymore? The Alvin and the Chipmunks Christmas,
right.
where he just wants the harmonica.
Yeah.
Can't find that anywhere
And
now.
a hula hoop.
Yeah. Come on, man. Bring
Yeah.
that one back.
But so my three, it's a little newer, but it's really good. It's Christmas Chronicles.
Oh, nice.
Kurt Russell, dude, it's so good,
Mm.
and the storyline's well written, but the whole premise behind the movie, the way they do it, how it plays out through the movie is great. The actors are good, but how they kind of tie in some of the Christmas things into the movie in a unique way, right? You don't see that a lot in Christmas movies. But on top of that, then you have Kurt Russell playing this like awesome Santa Claus. So I had to put it in there, and I moved it up above a couple ones because of how well done it was.
I would put Kurt Russell as one of the best Santa Clauses.
Yeah, yeah, he did a great job.
But the best Santa Claus is Tim Allen
Oh, I know.
and the Santa Claus. And that's my number 3 is the Santa Claus.
So good. Yeah, Holly talked me out of this one.
What?
I mean, I love it. I think it's the best. Like, I love the Santa Claus. She thinks
He's
the
like,
second one's better than the first.
what?
I was like, really?
No, the second one nowhere near.
No. But it's classic. It's great. Um, and Judge Reinhold, dude, is so good.
Weenie whistle. Yeah.
Oh, I love when he's like, it's just not possible. How can one man go around there? He's like, you ever seen $1 million?
Yeah.
Doesn't mean it's not real.
Yep.
Yeah, Santa Claus is great. And the transformation thing, which is very unique. Again, it's a very unique movie, which is what makes it so good.
Right.
Number two, I mean, I thought, is there any way I could not put this up this high? And I just can't. And it's Christmas Vacation. There, obviously Chevy Chase and everything, but then Randy Quaid just makes the movies so much better. The whole idea of Clark Griswold, though, it's like once you become a father, you identify with him so much more than when you watch this when you're younger or not a parent. And so I literally just watched it because I have to watch it a couple times every year. It's just so good. It's great.
Yep. I mean, I strive to have my lights out there as
Right.
much as he does.
Yeah, that's what we're doing now. I mean, right? And you're striving to like, I gotta have the best Christmas.
Yep.
You feel his pain, right? You feel his pain. So
I want to get money to get, I wish I'd get a bonus for my work so I could get a pool, but
right. So I got Christmas Vacation at 2.
spoiler alert, didn't make my top 5, which is crazy.
Wow.
It's so good, but it was just on the
Yeah, no. There's so many, like it's hard.
My number two, or I'll go Grayson's because it's Santa Claus. He loves that movie.
Right. That's good. It's a great movie.
And then my number two, and this is cheating because I'm counting both movies, but I'm going Home Alone 1 and Home Alone 2.
Right. The Home Alones
Yeah.
until it got bad.
Yeah, just the first two.
Right.
And Grayson was like, I heard there's a Home Alone 3, and I'm like, no, it doesn't.
No, it
It's
actually
not
does
good.
not exist.
Yeah.
You heard wrong. Sorry, dude.
No, I just told him it's not very good and that Kevin McAllister's not in it. And then he
Right.
did. He's like, oh, okay.
Yeah. No. We watched 1 and 2 already, and Brooklyn was like, "Yeah, let's watch 3 and 4." I'm like, "No, we're not going to
No.
watch 3 and 4."
Because they're not very good. And it's like they just came out with one last year, and I watched the first 5 minutes. I'm like, this movie's horrible.
Yeah.
It's so bad because the kid was a jerk.
Right.
And I'm like, no, I don't like this kid at all. At least with Kevin McAllister, I was pissed off more at Buzz than
Right.
him.
And the parents.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Home Alone. It's great. Yeah, and I took it off as well. Probably, just because it's for me, it's Christmassy because it's obviously Christmas time, but it's a lot about like Kevin.
Yeah, but it's also him figuring out the Christmas spirit and then
Right,
talking
yeah.
to the
And yeah,
old old man
there's a lot to
neighbor.
that.
Or in the second one, the bird lady.
Right.
So
Yeah, it's great. I mean, you can't go wrong with it. I watch every year, 1 and 2 every year. All right, let's hear it. Number one. What's Grayson's number one?
his is Home Alone. But
Come on.
his would actually be if he ranks them Home Alone 2, then Home Alone.
Telling you, him and Holly have the same exact list. She she was trying to convince Brooklyn that Home Alone 2 was better than Home Alone 1. And so we watched them, and then Brooklyn came back and said Home Alone 1's better.
See, I like them both. Grayson likes 2 better than 1.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like them both
Yeah, I mean, you can't go wrong. They're
almost
good.
equally.
They're
So
great. All right, what do you got at 1?
my one is a story about a man trying to get back to his family on Christmas. And he tries to get in the Christmas spirit, but he's been since estranged from his family for a while. And he learns the meaning of Christmas and to be with his family. And that movie is Die Hard.
Nice.
Die Hard is a Christmas movie. One, it has tons of Christmas music in it.
Yes. One
Two,
one of my biggest arguments is that how many movies have that much Christmas music in it?
two, it's a Christmas Eve party going
Right.
into Christmas. Three, how many times do they say Christmas in it?
Right.
Right? I mean, Theo, remember, it's Christmas.
Christmas.
4, basically, it has snow coming down, even though it's not really snow. It's like ash, but it looks like snow. And 5, the biggest of it all, is it's about family.
Yeah.
Him trying to get back to his family.
Well, Annie used a bow to tie a gun to his
Yes.
back.
And ho, 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 now I've got a machine gun.
Yeah, I mean it's hard not to put. I mean, Die Hard's so good. Like I said, overall as a movie, obviously it's great. It really is a Christmas movie. But then you can say it's an action movie. You can say
Yeah.
it's got a lot. There's a lot
I
to it.
watch it every Christmas Eve after Caitlin and Grayson go to bed where I'm finishing up wrapping.
Right.
And that's my movie I watch.
Well, the movie I watch on Christmas Eve multiple times a year is It's a Wonderful Life. There's no movie that can withstand the test of time Like It's a Wonderful Life. I mean, how many movies can still be in black and white and still be one of the greatest Christmas movies? You talk about a man trying to figure out his life and his family and
Right.
Christmas spirit and spirit in general. It's crazy to me how well done the movie is for how old it is. When you think about just storyline and character um, creation and how it all fits together. So, and it's just a great story, right? I mean, like if you're trying to like fight depression or like seasonal depression, like it's winter or holidays
Mhm.
suck or whatever you're trying to do, like there's no movie like It's a Wonderful Life to like bring you back to reality.
Right.
So that's my all-time. I think it may be one of my favorite movies, but Christmas for me, Christmas time, you gotta watch it. So I had to put it up top.
And here's one that people will think is a surprise. I don't think is a Christmas movie. I don't think Lethal Weapon is a Christmas movie.
I mean, yeah, I mean, it happens at Christmas time, but
But
yeah,
that's it. It happens at Christmas time.
it's
Where
not
Die
based
Hard incorporates tons of Christmas into it.
right, because it's Christmas party and that kind of stuff. And there's a few other movies that I think are good movies that fall into that same realm of they just happen around Christmas time, but they're not
Gremlins.
incorporated. Yeah, you know, there's like Last Holiday. I don't know if you've ever seen that. Serendipity, Love Actually. These are all really good movies that happen at Christmas time.
Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
I mean, yeah, that's the truth. It's like you could technically call them all Christmas movies.
I will say Caitlin has Love Actually in her top 5 Christmas movies. So
It was right there. Like it was almost number five over Christmas Story. So that's how close it was for me because it's such a good movie. And not just a Christmas movie. It's like just a really good movie.
right.
So that's why it was so close for me. But because Christmas Story literally has the word Christmas in it, I had to put that there.
One for me because it's newer, so I couldn't put it on the list just yet, but it kind of hit home because of like my dad and everything like that was 8-Bit Christmas.
Right. Oh, that's good. I've watched it a couple times. It's good.
Because it brings us to the nostalgia of the 80s. And we knew about like it's like,
It's a lot of nostalgia in that movie. Like a lot of people that watch that won't see it the same way that we would see it.
right. I think Caitlin watched it and she had no idea. And I'm like,
Right.
dude,
She
it's a power glove.
doesn't get it.
It's
Right,
like it's, he's got the power glove.
right. That's our glove.
And it doesn't work. Yes, that's exactly how it
Right.
is.
Yeah, yeah. No, yeah, 8-Bit Christmas was great. I love that. Um, yeah, you mean you put Santa Claus in there, obviously, which I could easily is one of my favorites. That was hard to take out. White Christmas, you mentioned Miracle on 34th Street. There's a lot of those that, they're classic movies, they're great movies. Yeah, I mean, there's just so many. It's really hard to narrow this one down.
I
So
would
that's
have
tough.
liked to have seen Wes's list.
I know, like, dude. Well, the audience is going to be disappointed.
You know,
Leave it in the comments, audience. Tell us what you think about Fresh West not being here for his list.
he'd try to figure out a way for Godfather to be a Christmas movie.
Right. Yeah. He'd be like, I'm gonna take Godfather as the top. Yeah, so good list there. Hope everybody enjoys their Christmas and I'll get this posted right away so you can hear our list and maybe watch some of these before Christmas goes up. finish up here. I mean, you're out of the HSC podcast playoffs. We're in week 2 of the playoffs. As expected, Big Mike's rolling. And I get to go over to Mike Knight, previous year champion's house, as the week finishes up.
You'd
And
be like, I lost to a guy that
yeah,
hasn't
he's
even
gonna be
played.
not gonna be happy, and I'll make fun of him for it.
Well, then
Uh,
you have to be the other guy that's not playing.
oh man, and then yeah, so me and Team John, who recently I never paid attention before we talked about this, is the lowest scorer in the league or second lowest scorer in the league, and somehow not only is in the playoffs, but is now may beat me in the playoffs because Christian McCaffrey scores 40 points. But yeah, that's where we're at with the playoffs. So we'll update that next week, see who goes in the finals. I think it's going to be really sad because I just don't see Big Mike losing. And that's going to make me feel bad as a fantasy football player because I played fantasy football for a long time.
Hmm.
And I always thought of myself as a pretty good fantasy football GM or whatever you want to call yourself. And to be losing now to guys who have not drafted or set their lineup.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. It's like, when you lose to the people that do March Madness and they like
Right, right,
for their favorite mascot or
right.
whatever.
And never don't even know anything, and they're just picking teams based on the name of the school. They're like, yeah, an eagle would totally get a gopher.
You're
So
like,
I'm
but the Gopher, they're the number one seed. What? Oh, they
yeah.
lost. Oh, okay. My bracket's busted.
Right.
The
Yeah.
Eagle
So
won.
it might be sad days in fantasy football world for the HSC podcast here next podcast. So we'll prepare everybody.
Set your lineup this time.
Yeah.
Your
Yeah.
only hope, Steve.
Man, I know it's gonna be rough, but we'll see what happens. So thanks for listening, everybody. If you're listening on Spotify, uh, thanks for all the listens. Our impressions are going up and up and up. It's great to see a lot more plays on that. And we're getting a lot of new plays on YouTube as well. So if for those of you who are listening on YouTube, if you're still listening, if you are listening, which I know you are, new people, please subscribe because what we're not getting is new subscribers. So please subscribe if you like the content.
Leave your comments of what's your favorite Christmas movies.
Yes, I will put that in the comments as well. I want to hear the favorite Christmas movies. I'm sure my sister will chime in. Definitely hear that. So yeah, we'll see you guys all next time. Thanks for listening.